Hey everyone, and welcome back to the PTG Rail Routes Learning series for Train Simulator. On today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at the Mayflower Line and going to be driving a return journey for a video that I made a couple of years ago now, I think it is. And so I'm going to be driving a full run of the Mayflower Line, which is actually itself an extension to the Great Eastern Main Line add-on, released by Just Trains, and adds the route between Manningtree and Harwich Town. So the scenario I'm driving is one which I've custom created specifically for this video, following the real-life timetable of train 2 Alpha 55, which is the 2005 service from Harwich Town all the way through to Manningtree. Along the way, we will be calling at Dovercourt, Harwich International, Wrabness, Mistley, and finally Manningtree. The total distance for this journey is around 11 1/3 miles. The train that I'm using on this journey is the Armstrong Powerhouse Class 321, and I've chosen First Great Eastern livery, which sets this scenario in the late 1990s or early 2000s. The Class 321 is an AC overhead electric multiple unit, which has been in service since 1988 and was manufactured at Brell, York. They are part of the second generation family of electric multiple units based on the Mark III coach body shell, and a total of 117 of these units were produced, formed of 4 coaches per train. The length of each coach is just over 65 feet, they're just over 9 feet wide and around 12.5 feet high. They have a maximum speed of 100 miles per hour, with a power output of 1,438 horsepower. They run on the 25 kilovolts 50 Hz AC overhead electrification system. In the cab of the Class 321, I'm now going to quickly set up ready to depart away from Harwich Town. So the first thing I'm going to do here is to move the reversing handle into the neutral position, and then as I do so, I'm going to reset the AWS self-test sequence. Now that I've done that, I'm going to switch off the tail lights at this end of the train and just press H once to put the headlights into the day setting, which also turns on the marker lights at the same time. So with the daytime headlight, then that will be the right-hand headlight, which will be illuminated at the front of the train. Also to mention that you would normally need to jump to the rear cab to turn on the tail lights at the other end of the train. But I've already done that on this journey, as the tail lights would already be set in real life, as this train's literally just come in from Manningtree, and so the driver would have changed ends and put the tail lights on at the other end before jumping into this end of the train. Now the next thing I'm going to do, as I can see the signal is clear, is to deactivate the driver reminder appliance. And now if we go over to the right hand side of the cab, I'm going to set up the destination display using the computer system here. So if we look over to this side, you can see a list of destinations with codes, and if you look here, Manningtree has the code 00830. So if I now move over to this side, if I now press C and then press 008, I think it was 20, wasn't it? I've actually forgotten it was 30. So 00830, press E, and then we've got Manningtree has come up just above the display there. And when we look at the outside of the train in a minute, then you will notice that Manningtree is now on that destination display. So now if we go back over to the driver's side of the cab, I'm just going to open the windows, as I prefer the sound of the train and the noise of the wind rushing past with the windows open. Now if I go behind us, I'm just checking here, you can see there's a lighting on and lighting off button. So I'm now just going to click on the lighting on button to ensure that the passenger lights are switched on. Although it doesn't matter so much at this time of the day. That's certainly something you really do need to remember at night time, as you wouldn't really want the passengers travelling in the dark. So now let's just have a quick look around the cab controls here. On the left hand side, we've got a standard West Code 3-step brake, so you've got steps 1, 2, full service, which is step 3, and then finally a 4th step, which is the emergency step. And now if we continue around here, you can see there that we've got the brake gauge next to the speedometer. So the brake gauge here, the needle on the right hand side indicates how hard the brakes are applied, and when that needle is pointing to 0, then the brakes are fully released. And now we've got the speedometer there, measured in miles per hour. As already mentioned, the maximum speed of this train is 100 miles per hour, but the maximum speed that we're going to be able to get up to on this journey today is 60 miles per hour. Now down here we've got the horn control, which is a two-tone horn, controlled with the spacebar and the B key. And now if we continue around, we've got the reversing handle there. And then finally on the right-hand side, well now in the middle of the screen in front of us, we have the power controller, which has 4 steps of power. And so you've got steps 1, 2, 3 and 4, which correspond to different power settings with the names shunt for step 1, series for step 2, parallel for step 3, and finally weak field for step 4. Now that we've had a look around the cab, and I've set up the unit ready for departure, let's just take another quick look outside the train, and then we can depart and head out towards Manningtree. As the doors on this unit are set to driver-only operation at present, I just pressed R to close the doors, and now that the blue light has just come on the dashboard there, we're now cleared to depart away from Harwich. So departing away from Harwich Town, the starting speed limit is 15 miles per hour, and at this point we've got around half a mile to go to our first stop, which is Dovercourt. Now that we've reached 15 miles per hour, I've just idled the power to allow the train to coast. In a moment the speed limit will be going up further to 25 miles per hour, at which point I'll be able to accelerate towards that at the second gantry after that speed post. Passing the 25 mile per hour speed post now, and so here is the first gantry. And we reached the second gantry, so I just started accelerating here up towards 25, and then once we reach 25 miles per hour, I'm once again going to idle the power and just allow the train to coast. You can now see the platform at Dovercourt station just coming up. So I'm just going to apply the brakes now just before we enter the platform here. One thing I have noticed on this route is that I haven't seen any clear stop markers for like 4-coach trains, so it's a bit of a guess trying to work out exactly where to stop. Here at Dovercourt I'm aiming to stop at the platform sign you can see just coming up on the left, just past the station building and the roof there. It should be about the right place to stop. Departing away from Dovercourt, the starting speed limit is quickly going up to 45 miles per hour, and we've got just under 1.5 miles to go to our next stop, which is Harwich International. I've just cut the power for a moment to ensure that we didn't end up breaking the previous 25 limit before the rear of the train had cleared the 45 board. Just as we passed that ground signal there on the right hand side, then I could be sure that the whole train was clear of the 25 mile per hour speed section. I've now idled the power at 45 miles per hour, and I will increase the power slightly if necessary if we lose too much speed. I should just be able to coast along here for now. I'm now looking out for an upcoming 25 mile per hour speed limit warning. There is no AWS with that Morpeth board, and then I'm going to be looking out for the next ground signal, and I'm going to be braking just after that for the upcoming 25. So just past the 25 warning now. I'm now looking out for the next ground signals, which I can see coming up just ahead. And we're now down to 25 miles per hour just in time there. And so just going between step 1 and 2 braking to slow down for that 25 limit. So I'm now just going to allow us to coast at 25 miles per hour. We're now coming up on Harwich International Station. Once again, I've got to try and guess the correct stopping point here. I'm aiming to stop just before the end of the roof on the left-hand side. And so I believe this should be about the right place to stop. Departing away from Harwich International, the starting speed limit is 25 miles per hour, and we've got around 3 3/4 miles to go to our next stop, which is Wrabness. Now at 25 miles per hour, I've just shut off the power now to allow the train to coast until we can accelerate further. We should be able to accelerate in a moment as the speed limit is now going up to 40 miles per hour. And we can accelerate up towards 40 miles per hour as we reach the second overhead gantry here, which is this one just coming up now. Now we've reached 40 miles per hour, I've once again shut off the power to allow the train to coast, but I will increase the power as required to ensure that we don't lose too much speed. There is a 1 in 100 upward gradient coming up shortly once we're down to just 2 tracks along here, and so at that point I am going to need to add power to ensure that we don't slow down. We're now starting on the 1 in 100 upward gradient, so I'm going to need to go between, I think it's notches 1 and 2 power to try and ensure that we don't lose too much speed. The speed limit is now going up to 60 miles per hour, and once again I can accelerate at the second gantry just here. So I'm now in full power to accelerate up towards 60 miles per hour. Now that we've reached 60 miles per hour, I'm just going to go between notches 1 and 2 of power to try and maintain our speed. What I'm looking out for now is the next signal, which is just over a mile to go from our stop. We've now got just over a mile to go. We're now going to round this light right curve here, and then we're going to enter a light left-hand curve. I'm going to apply the brakes for Wrabness as we enter that left-hand curve. I've now just idled the power to allow the train to coast. And as we're now entering the left-hand curve, I've now made a step 2 brake application, which I will adjust as we get closer to our stop if required. I can now just see the platforms at Wrabness just coming up here. I'm aiming to enter the platform at no faster than around 25 miles per hour. And here at Wrabness, we need to stop right at the end of the platform. So I'm going to try and stop just with the signal in view, just before we reach the S sign. So this should be about the right place to stop. Departing away from Wrabness, the starting speed limit is still 60 miles per hour, and at this point we've got just under 4 miles to go to our next stop, which is Mistley. We're now about to start descending on a 1 in 94 downward gradient. As a result of that, I'm going to idle the power a bit before 60 miles per hour at around 55 and allow the train to coast up towards 60. And that just allows me to see exactly what the train is doing and have control of the brakes to ensure that we don't break the speed limits. So I've now idled the power at 55 miles per hour and we are continuing to accelerate very slightly. Now just going to give us a little bit of power as the gradient is changing here. At this signal we've now got 3 miles to go to our next stop. And so now we're on a short upward gradient before we start going downhill again. Now the gradient's changed again. I've just idled the power to see what the train is doing, and then I'm going to adjust the power as necessary, or use the brakes of course if required, to control our speed. See, we are losing a little bit of speed here, so I've just given us a small amount of power now to bring us back up towards 60 miles per hour. At this signal just here, we've now got around 1.5 miles to go to Mistley. The next landmark I'm looking out for is the next left-hand curve, at which point I'm going to idle the power and allow the train to coast, as we've then got 2/3 of a mile to go to our stop. Now that we've just entered the left-hand curve, I've now idled the power to allow the train to coast. I'm going to apply the brakes for our stop as soon as I see an overbridge coming up ahead. We're actually going to be going on a downward gradient towards our stop of 1 in 99. I can now see the overbridge, so I've now made a step 2 brake application. But due to this downward gradient, I may need to go up to step 3 to increase our braking efficiency. I released the brakes slightly there, and it looks like I probably didn't need to. In fact, I'm going to go up to step 3 braking for a moment to ensure that we are losing speed quick enough. I'm not going to overshoot this station. And so this should be about the right place to stop. Departing away from Mistley, the starting speed limit is still 60 miles per hour, and we are still on a 1 in 94 downhill gradient. At this point we've got around 1 3/4 miles to go to our next and final stop, which is Manningtree. Now that we've reached 60 miles per hour, I've just shut off the power to allow the train to coast, and we're now passing a warning for an upcoming 35 mile per hour speed limit, which is half a mile away from that northwest board. I'm going to apply the brakes for that limit as we reach this overbridge just here. Once again, due to the steep downward gradient here, I do actually have to potentially go up to step 3 of braking, and I did initially just go up to step 3 there to try and ensure that we're slowing down quick enough. We've now entered the 35 mile per hour speed zone, and the speed limit is very shortly going to be dropping further to 25 miles per hour. I just continue to brake a little bit there as we're still on this downward gradient. I'm going to brake for the upcoming 25 mile per hour speed limit on the next AWS ramp. speed limit is now 25 miles per hour, and I'm going to continue to slow down as we enter this platform here. I'm aiming to enter this bay platform at no faster than 10 miles per hour. And so now I'm just going to allow the train to coast towards the end of the platform. There is an S marker here. It's pretty obvious where you need to stop due to the buffer stops ahead. I'm going to aim to stop just after the S marker here disappears. So you can see that just coming up on the left-hand side now. And so here we are, arrival at Manningtree. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really do hope that you did enjoy it. If you did, then please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, please don't forget that for the latest channel updates, then you can find me on Facebook, and that's the best place to get updates on the PTG Rail channel. The link to my Facebook page is in the description of this video. And also, if you'd like to sponsor anything towards the work that I do on this channel, then please visit my Patreon page for more information. And again, the link for that is in the description of this video. Once again, thank you for watching.